I remember that man, Thomas Paine. I myself, I went to a school where they taught us not to believe in God. Let me tell you this very, very clearly. When I was very young, as a secondary school fellow, I think I was in class 2, 1958. I saw a man. One of the students was reading the Bible at an odd hour. And he took that Bible and he called all of us students. And he warned every one of us, and he said, this school is not for Bible reading. And he spoke to us, and he took that boy who read the Bible, and he gave him terrible strokes of the cane. And he called for fire. And he took that Bible, the head of the school, tore the Bible, and burnt that Bible. I was young, but even my young heart trembled. I said, this man burnt God's book. I've seen terrible things. I've heard terrible things. We were told very clearly and loudly in the assembly that if you are going to succeed, don't call God, that God can't help anybody. And those days they told us about a person like Thomas Paine. They didn't tell us about his end. They only told us about his life. They said he was bold. He abused God. It was later in life, after I passed out of school, I read about that man when he was going to die. Before he left the earth here, God, fear God. I said, fear God. You know that man, Thomas Paine, he suffered, and then he opened his mouth. He said, if I have words to give out, so that I can recall my book that I printed against God, which has been circulated to many hands, I will call back that book and burn my book in which I talked against God. Then he said, but I'm now forsaken by God and man, and I feel the pangs and the torment of hell already. My heart trembled when I read. I heard about another man called Voltaire. And that Voltaire, when he was alive, he lived a careless life. He fought Christianity and fought God with his pen. He studied English, and all his knowledge and education, he used it against God like a mighty weapon. And he said in 50 years that the Bible will be a forgotten book. God, please, fear God. Fear God. Before 50 years, his house had been turned to a factory that was making Bibles, sending Bibles out in their thousands and millions. But that's not the end of the story. There was a woman that was his attendant when he was going to die. And later, when that woman was seen in the public, and they said, what do you know about the death of so and so? Oh, he said, I think that was the nurse. And she said, I will not be for any salary, any amount of salary, no matter how great that salary may be, I will not see any other atheist die in my life. The cry, the groaning, the torment, the suffering, the pangs, the fiery indignation that he felt, even those of us in the dying room of that man, we knew if God wants to punish, he knows how to be terrible in punishment. And that woman said, I will not see any other atheist die all my life. And Jesus said, fear him. Fear him. I fear God. I fear God. Because if a person backslides and he dies in sin, it will be another story he'll be telling. I read Revelation chapter 14. Revelation chapter 14, from verse 11.